You've checked all the boxes: the good job, the nice apartment, the curated social media feed. So why do you feel so disconnected? Why is there a quiet anxiety humming beneath all that success? There is an ancient story about a man who had everything, but in his pursuit of the good life, he ignored one crucial thing right at his doorstep. This isn't a story about the afterlife. It's a map of the human soul, and it explains the invisible hell we create for ourselves when we ignore what we most need to see. Before we go deeper, a quick note on how this channel works. My name is Dominic, and I'm your guide for this journey. All the research, the psychological frameworks, and the script you're hearing was written by our creator, David. He uses me, an AI presenter, to ensure these complex ideas are delivered with as much clarity and focus as possible. It's a collaboration designed to bring you the deepest insights in the most accessible way. Now let's talk about that invisible hell. We live in the age of the persona. That's the term the psychologist Carl Jung gave to the social mask we wear, the version of ourselves we present to the world. It's your LinkedIn profile, your carefully crafted Instagram grid, your professional demeanor in a Zoom meeting. It is, in short, the curated self. And our culture, especially hustle culture, is obsessed with perfecting the persona. We're told to optimize, to level up, to grind, to build a personal brand. The goal is to build a rich and successful outer life, a life that looks good from the outside, a life dressed in the modern equivalent of purple garments and fine linen. But this creates a profound and painful paradox, one that many of us are feeling right now. It's a kind of spiritual burnout. We can have all the external markers of success, the sumptuously dining, the accolades, the followers, and yet feel a gnawing emptiness inside, a deep loneliness that has nothing to do with how many people are in the room. It's the anxiety of feeling like a stranger in your own life, because you've spent all your energy polishing the mask and have forgotten the face underneath. This feeling of being divided, of being successful but not whole, is the central crisis this ancient story diagnoses with terrifying precision. So let's turn to this 2,000-year-old parable. The story goes like this. There was a rich man who lived a life of extreme luxury. Every day was a feast, and he was adorned in the finest clothes. At the gate of his grand house lay a poor beggar named Lazarus. Lazarus was covered in painful sores, and he longed for even the scraps that fell from the rich man's table. He was so destitute that dogs would come and lick his wounds. Eventually, both men die. Lazarus is carried by angels to a place of peace and comfort. The rich man, however, finds himself in a place of torment, a kind of metaphysical desert. Looking up, he sees Lazarus far away, resting in peace. And in his torment, the rich man cries out, "Father Abraham, have pity on me. Send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in agony in these flames." Abraham replies with a devastating truth. "Child, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us and you a great chasm has been set in place, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us." The rich man, realizing his fate is sealed, makes one last plea. "Then I beg you, send Lazarus to my family, to warn my 5 brothers, so that they will not also come to this place of torment." But Abraham's final reply is the key to the entire story. "They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them." When the rich man protests that only a miracle would convince them, Abraham says, "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead." Now, for centuries, this story has been interpreted as a straightforward moral lesson about wealth, charity, and the afterlife. And it is that. But if we put on the lens of depth psychology, it becomes something far more immediate and personal. It becomes a map of our own inner world. From a Jungian perspective, this isn't a story about two different men. It's a story about one man, a man completely divided against himself. The rich man is your ego, your conscious self, over-identified with its persona. He's the CEO of your life, focused entirely on external metrics: success, status, pleasure, and appearance. Notice that the story doesn't even give him a name. This is because when we are fully consumed by our persona, we lose our true identity. We become our job title, our social status, our accomplishments. The rich man isn't evil, he's worse. He's unconscious. His great sin isn't cruelty, it's inattention. And Lazarus? Lazarus is the rich man's shadow. The shadow is the part of ourselves that we repress, deny, and ignore because it's messy, uncomfortable, or inconvenient to our polished persona. It's our vulnerability, our grief, our unfulfilled creative urges, our need for rest, our messy emotions. Lazarus is the impoverished, suffering, neglected part of the rich man's own soul, and he is lying right at the gate, the threshold between the conscious and the unconscious. He is not hidden away in some deep dungeon. He is in plain sight, every single day, and the ego just steps over him on the way to its next feast. Think about that. What part of you is lying at your gate begging for even the scraps of your attention? The sores on Lazarus are our psychic wounds, the unprocessed pain that festers when ignored. And the dogs, animals often symbolizing our basic instincts, are the only ones who pay attention to these wounds. Sometimes our own body, our own instincts, know we are in pain long before our conscious mind is willing to admit it. Death, in this psychological reading, is the inevitable crisis. It's the burnout, the breakdown, the dark night of the soul. It's the moment the persona shatters, the distractions fall away, and the ego is forced to confront the wasteland it has created inside. And the torment? The hell? It is the agony of a psyche divided. It's the searing thirst for the very thing you denied, a connection to your own soul. The rich man, the ego, still doesn't get it. Even in torment, he sees Lazarus not as a being to connect with, but as an object to be used. Send Lazarus to cool my tongue. He still thinks his ego can command his soul to serve its needs. But now, a great chasm has been fixed between them. The dissociation is complete. The inner split has become so wide that the conscious mind can no longer easily access the healing waters of the soul. This is the true psychological hell. To be aware of your inner poverty, but to be unable to bridge the gap to heal it. The rich man's final desperate plea to warn his 5 brothers is the cry of the newly aware ego. It's the part of you that, after a crisis, desperately wants to save the other parts of your personality that are still living unconsciously, still chasing the phantom of the perfect persona. And Abraham's final cryptic answer is the most important piece of practical wisdom for our lives today. They have Moses and the prophets. They don't need a spectacular miracle. They have all the wisdom they need, right now. Moses and the prophets are the mundane, everyday messengers from your soul that you are already ignoring. It's the nagging feeling in your gut that this job is draining your life force. It's the recurring dream you keep having. It's the quiet voice in the shower that says, "I miss painting," or "I feel really lonely." It's the physical exhaustion your body is screaming at you. These are your prophets. And the story's terrifying conclusion is that if we don't learn to listen to the whispers from our soul, we won't be persuaded even by an earthquake. The change has to start with paying attention to the small daily messages from our own inner Lazarus. So what do we do? How do we avoid creating that great uncrossable chasm in our own lives? This story isn't a condemnation. It's a diagnostic tool. It's a wake-up call to begin the work of integration before a crisis forces our hand. This work is what Jung called shadow integration. It's the process of turning towards the Lazarus at your gate and beginning to heal the divide. The goal is not to kill the rich man. We need a healthy ego and a functional persona to navigate the world. The goal is to bring him into a conscious and respectful relationship with Lazarus. It's to make them neighbors, not a master and a beggar. Here's how we can start. First, acknowledge the gate. The first and most powerful step is to simply be honest with yourself. Where is the gate in your life? And who or what is the Lazarus lying there? Is it your physical health, which you sacrifice for your career? Is it your creativity, starving while you endlessly scroll? Is it your need for deep, authentic connection, begging for scraps of attention while you pursue superficial status? Take a moment right now to name your Lazarus. Simply seeing him is the beginning of everything. Second, share the scraps. You don't have to solve it all at once. The story is clear. Lazarus would have been happy with just the scraps from the table. This is a profound insight. You can begin to nourish your soul with scraps of attention. You don't have to quit your job to become a painter. You can start with a scrap of time. 20 minutes a day to sketch. You don't need to bare your soul to everyone. You can offer a scrap of vulnerability to one trusted friend. Feed your inner Lazarus with small, consistent acts of attention. Journaling, meditation, time in nature, therapy, these are all ways of sharing the scraps. And third, listen to your prophets. Make a conscious practice of listening to the whispers. When you feel that gut instinct, don't dismiss it. When you have a powerful dream, write it down and sit with it. Treat these inner messages with the respect you would give to an important mentor. They are your internal guidance system, the Moses and prophets of your own soul, leading you toward wholeness. By doing this, you are actively bridging the chasm within yourself. You are telling the neglected parts of you that they are seen, they are valued, and they belong. This is the path away from the hollow anxiety of the curated life and toward the deep, resonant meaning of an integrated one. It's the journey from being a persona to becoming a person. The great irony is that the rich man sought a life of feasting, but in ignoring his own soul, he created his own famine. True abundance isn't found in a life devoid of suffering, but in a life that is whole, a psyche that is unified, where the ego and the shadow can finally dine at the same table. Thank you.